Mo 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 me moo 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 ma 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 gasolina. What is going on, everybody? How are we doing? 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 We sounding okay? We feeling okay? We doing okay? I hope so. Uh, hey guys, what is up? I hope you are all up. Can you guys hear me all right? See me all right? I think you can probably hear me all right. You probably hear the door. I got the nice mic, and I realized that so this is how dumb I am, guys. I realize that I have a microphone, and it's a really good microphone. In fact, it's such a good microphone that when I have set it up and used it for videos to do voiceovers, I'm a dummy. This is how dumb Alex is. I set it up in the living room or here, and I've done things like put a blanket that's like deafening for sound over myself and then the microphone, and I've spoken into that to try to keep the noise at a minimum. But as you can hear, like this room is echoey. It's a room. And I didn't think about it, but when I was listening to the quality of my videos, I'm like, man, it sounds like I don't even have a mic. And it's because clearly the quality of the room sucks. So the silly thing I need to do, obviously, is either get a lav mic that's better, which I did have a lav mic. I had several lav mics over years, but I literally did not realize that my mic is good enough that it picks up all the echo and everything. Whereas in the past, I had what was it, like a different not the I don't know. You can probably hear my wife coughing even on that, right? So like that's the difference in it. But anyways, long story short, I'm getting a new mic is what I decided because we do a lot of the voiceover video obviously lately because I've heard the feedback. I've heard the criticism of Alex. We don't need to see your face while you explain, some story about shrimp. We'd much rather see the shrimp, and I agree. That makes sense. Like who I am. Let's look at the shrimp. So the only thing that's hard with that is getting like licensed and like getting the rights to use content like that. But now I have also given my blessing for others to use any of my footage and content. And basically, in an exchange, now we kind of have a pool of several creators that know like they can hop on and use my stuff, and I can hop on and use their stuff. And so it's expanding. Chris Lukop has let me use a lot of his shrimp stuff and nanofish stuff, which is like phenomenal because he's like a world-class photographer. And so having that is a big help. And I want to just give him a shout out, to the Shrimp King as he is known branding wise. But Chris Lukop, he is he's a very good photographer, that's for sure. What's up, Aquatic News Network? Muppet, good to see you. Always so good to see you, Muppet. Sketty Nona, what is going on? Good to see you as well. Dagmar, what's up? And we've got Fish Dad, we've got Empire, we got Jeff Kane, of course, live and in the flesh. Azurevian 2, what's going on? Good to see you. Obviously, wonderful to have you. House of Pisces, what's up? Who else is in here? Linda, hello. Hello, come on in. Bailey Do. Hello. And Andrew, what's up? Nano Aquarium guy, what's up, man? Good to see you. Also, I need to, it's been a while since we've done the contests and stuff on this channel. I should just be frank about that. Like, yeah, it's been a while since we've had a contest with a good prize too. And granted, my ability to do giveaways and stuff is a little bit scaled on like how big number wise the channel's doing and stuff like that. And so it kind of peaked about 3 years ago for views and all that stuff. But it's still like it's a two-way street, right? So like I need to do more of that, and I miss doing that, and so we need to reinvest in the community in that sense. I want to like do some sort of either aquascaping or like submit your pictures of fish, and maybe we do like a bowl show. Like I haven't ever seen anybody on YouTube take submissions for a bowl show for like best cichlid or best shrimp, and like accepted home viewer submissions for best guppy line or whatnot, you know. I don't know, would you guys be interested in that? Is that something we should do, and then, you know, have $100 gift card or whatever for the winner, or have you guys vote somehow? I mean, we have to figure all that stuff out at some point too, but I don't know, chime in, let me know what you guys think. So today I don't necessarily have anything planned, but I did want to say again, and hello Amy, hello Steven, girl 88, what's up? Also Rachel, what's up? I did want to also say, I guess, is it a warning? Is it a apology? Is it a thank you? Is it a, I don't know what it is. It's a CYA. So I am working with my doctors and my wife and my family, and we're trying to sort what all's going on, what's going on. But it's having definite impact on, obviously you guys know I've got health issues, but there's also some things going on that are having some impacts with my my cognitive ability and things like that. And you guys probably know some of this, I've mentioned it, but there's been a few times when I've streamed and you guys get to see how broken and just completely out of it I get. And it's literally more debilitating than like being intoxicated. And it comes when I hit this kind of end of my rope, and then I keep trying to do things and I don't even realize how bad it is until somebody tells me, like, you are slurring your words, your eyes, you're blinking slow, like you're done, you're donezo. And we've been working with neurologists just in the past, you know, they told us like the thing to do when you have brain injuries, severe brain injuries, is not, you don't push yourself and like try to get stronger by doing more puzzles or more, like that's not how that works. You actually need to like eat protein and then like take a nap for an hour. Like that's really all that's going to help with cognitive condition going downhill from injury type things. But I just wanted to say that also, as somebody who has been extremely transparent on this channel about my past, and watch now, this stream will be completely blackballed, but the past with substance use and stuff, like I just want to promise you that I'm not like getting on here just blasted and like being like, okay, now let's do this thing, you know. It's nothing like that. And it's actually been a really, really scary and very depressing you know, road to try to figure out like what so profoundly can switch like a light switch. And like I'll be okay talking to my wife, you know, saying like, should I stream? Is it, you know, you think I'm good doing? Yeah, it looks good. And then literally even certain things like so we have found that there are certain triggers, like driving in the car as a passenger, if I have monotonous things coming past me. It has a name, but I forget what it is. It's a long name. But in psychiatry / psychology, and then also with actual like neurology, it's in the same realm as what happens with like when people see strobing lights. But basically, it is your mind trying to process peripheral things, and your eyes dart back and forth trying to do that. And that can be calming, and it can be actually, they use that for therapy now, where your eyes are going from one object to another and then down and then restart and then do it again. And they're finding like that's really benefiting people. But they've also found that there are certain things, like even looking at striped patterns, or walking down a hallway where the wall has been painted like black panel, white panel, black panel, white panel, that can set it off in the people with the brain injuries, or with like certain forms of I guess either narcolepsy or epilepsy, some sort of like cognitive actual neurological issues. And so we're kind of in new territory learning about that a bit. And I think a lot of it is, yes, Robert Bennett, the doctor has prescribed me ribeyes and sleep. Yeah, it's something that I really wish I could get a prescription for, right? Stephanie, hello. Good to see you. Franz, good to see you. So I don't have a plan on going anywhere, but I just, the thing that really, yeah, anyways, sideshow. Thank you, buddy. I really do appreciate that. Yeah, you would know exactly. As somebody, you said, as a man who has been blasted 100 ways for a long time, we can tell you're not having fun when I'm having those troubles. Yeah, exactly. I'm not just like on here doing that. But if you didn't know me, or if you didn't know my history and the fact that like I don't even drink at all. I don't even smoke the wacky tobacco at all, even like, for any medicinal stuff, even though I wish I could. Like, it just doesn't click with my biology anymore and gives me anxiety, so I don't. But yeah, it's been a long haul. And so between that, and then there is the fact that like certain things, like when they put you on steroids and then they put you off them and then on 2 or 3 antibiotics and then on anti-inflammatories and other things, like all those medications also have an impact. And I'm sure like some of those side effects also have impacted me, but none of them have been noticeable enough to be like, oh, that one makes me super spacey, other than like Benadryl. Benadryl is one that if I take Benadryl or anything like you might as well have given me like Valium or something that's gonna like knock me out. I might as well have done the blow dart sleeping in the neck of the giant elephant, yeah. So, but usually, but I'll obviously be I'll be open if I've ever taken a Benadryl and for some reason decide to hop on stream. Anyways, so how are we doing in the community here, though? I feel bad for missing the streams, but at this point, y'all know if I haven't showed up, it's because we got a lot going on still. I don't want to take up the whole stream with Alex whining problems, because I come here obviously not for that, and more. We come here for fun. We come here to chat about fish and fish related stuff. And so, yeah, let's talk about the other stuff. How are people's aquariums doing? What's new? Any new thoughts? Otherwise, I'm going to start telling you guys new stuff that I've learned in the aquarium world. Amy, thank you very much. That's very nice. Thoughts and prayers. I actually had a guy come over so we have a sewer leak right now in the like laundry room. Well, we don't know where it is. We have a problem with the sewer line that's like halfway backing up or sometimes backing up. We don't know what's going on exactly. But we had a guy come and give us a quote. And like some of these quotes are like, 10,000, 13,000. They're like crazy. And then one's like 1,500. We'll just blast water through it and jet it out and it'll be all good. So it's really when you're not a plumber and you get these opinions from plumbers, you're like, how could it be that different? It feels like a used car salesman just got like they hit gold in that. I have no idea because it's buried underground and it involves poo, which means I will never go near it. Let's see, is that oh, sorry, there's probably, yes, that was loud for you guys too, I can tell. Let me turn that off so we do not get interrupted in our fun time together. Yeah, you know, I also sideshow you saying you can only drive for about 3 hours of time. I used to be able to drive like 12, 14, 16 hours. I'd drive across the country. I'd drive down into like Arizona and, you know, Southern California, do it in a straight shot, make it all the way to LA, you know, with one friend and trading off. Maybe we'd each do like 10 hours ish and we'd make it, you know, straight there. But now there is no way I could do that. I would be asleep by I think before Portland, well before Portland. And that's a real bummer because my wife doesn't love driving either. You know, she drives, but she does it more than me when we go on road trips now, which I feel bad about because I used to love driving. I mean, that used to, when I turned 16 and that I was able to drive, you know, that was like the rite of passage, right? You guys, where you like could just take off. I remember the day it wasn't quite as young as 16. I was younger than, or I was a little older than that. I think I was like maybe 17 or 16 and a half, but it just clicked that like I can just get in my car and I can go out to where I know there's farms and then I can just keep going. I can go where I don't know what's there and nobody can stop me. And this was before like cell phones were, you know, common and like on everybody. So it's like no one knew where you were or anything. And I just remember like how liberating as a kid that feels. I can hear, is that your music, honey? Laura? Are you listening to music? Oh, weird. Oh, okay. Okay. As long as it's not copyrighted music, that's fine. I just sorry, my mic picked something up on like the low setting and I was like, "Wait, is it my phone? Is what?" Anyways, you're fine. Ignore me. Sorry, guys. My wife earlier was listening to music and so I was paranoid that the copyright detector would pick up her even in the other room, which is so annoying. Like it can't hear anything we're saying when I'm like, Siri, do this or that, or, you know, whatever. But of course it can hear like, I got a peaceful, easy feeling. And it can be like, oh, I'm telling the Eagles right now. Yeah. Yeah. Sketty, I hear you. I wish you didn't have those issues either, Sketty. I know all of us with the autoimmune. I know that at least some of y'all know what I'm going through. You have some loved one that has gone through it too, and it's not that I would wish it on anybody, but it's hard to really understand like how all encapsulating and draining it is for like those around you too, and for those of you who are taking care of somebody or just loving somebody who has those issues. There's a wide range of them, and there's also just a wide range of like how invasive or how involved it is at a given time based on whatever. And you know, it's incredibly powerful when those of you who don't have these issues are there to help those of us who do. And it really makes a life and death difference in our like quality of life and in our ability to then have the resolve to continue. But you know, those of you who are there helping others also need to take care of yourself and make sure you're getting the care you need, because it is a very nasty set of diseases, just like cancer or other things, where it really drags you down. And there's not just like a happy cure that's going to tie up the bow on the package neat and tidy. All right, let's see. Friends Aquatic says, I have 3 new black tiger batis. Really want to try to breed them. You know, if you have them together and you have a female, probably is going to be gray colored more than the other ones. You know, I don't know what the black tiger batis, I can't recall off the top of my head what the female traits are, but I think it's gray and dark black, or like gray and dark gray are the color patterns on the female. But just keeping them in a densely planted tank where the bottom has dense plants. So plants like cryptocorin, plants like you know, I'm just trying to think of anything that would be like a hydrocotyl, like, you know, pennywort, moneywort, anything that crawls along the bottom, any sort of fine-leafed plant. So I mean, also that you could say something like Java moss or Java fern too, or Bulbidus hedulata. Like those are fine choices as well. But if you can get really fine moss or something that's like right down on the bottom, and then they are swimming above that, that really lends itself to then the eggs kind of fall down in between the moss, and they, you know, they'll protect their eggs kind of like a little cichlid. They will eat their own eggs also, but if it's the actual male and female who laid them, they tend to kind of guard the area for a day or two. And a lot of times they'll even let the fry hatch, and you'll then be able to find the fry for the first 3 to 5 days. They just are clear, teeny tiny, smaller than your tiniest, you know, eyelash would be in circumference, or diameter, however you want to measure it. But and they just hang out, and they're called sticky heads or sticky bellies, and they just hang on and swim, and kind of, you know, they need some oxygenated water or whatever, but they're just letting the yolk that they were born in the egg with, they're just letting that get digested by their body, and then they will have the ability after that to swim up to the surface. And a lot of times they'll hide in the corners of the tank. And at night, if you shine a flashlight in and check, you'll see one or two. And they're very tiny. So you really got to look hard and check with the flashlight. But that's how you would know that they'd spawned, short of catching them with the eggs. You can also put them at the glass bottom, with a glass bottom, or with a layer of mesh at the bottom, just like any nano fish you would do. And you can put like moss and then mesh below that, or you can put, even a lot of people will do glass marbles. They'll do like a layer of 2 or 3 glass marbles deep. So however tall the glass marble is, you would do like 1, 2, 3 layers of it, and you lay them out completely across the bottom so that it's solid marbles, and there's a void in between, you know, just because they're all spheres, there's a void. And then above that, you do another set of spheres, and then above that, one more. And it kind of allows this little slot Z to form for the tiniest of eggs, which can work really well. The only thing is you don't want to let that sit long term, more than like a couple months, because there will start to be a buildup of detritus and debris that is moldy, which is fine in a lot of settings, but it's not ideal for when you're trying to get eggs to have a clean, healthy hatch. They get fungused over really easy if that's dirty. You did the mesh thing, breeding white cloud minnows, works great. Yeah, Fran or Fraz, that is, if you were able to do it with them, you probably will not have a problem with the Batis either. Similar size eggs, if I recall. Similar size initially hatching, maybe a little smaller, but a little more aggressive is the only problem. They definitely do eat their own young a little bit more gung-ho, which you can pull them out of there too if need be. So the other thing I was going to tell you folks, I had some news. Craig, Sideshow, what's this? Plucked a 21-inch crypt leaf from my main display tank on a 75. That is impressive, man. That's a good size leaf. I like it a lot. Alex, I have some Rikia and I want to use it as a carpet. Should I just weigh it down with the rock? So that depends. That's a great question. Beto, are you growing this Rikia? Is it Rikia fluitans, I would guess? Are you growing this in the tank already, and is it happy? or are you hoping to grow it and you have like a tissue culture or a cutting of it? Because if it is a cutting one, you're in better shape than a tissue culture. Tissue cultures are notoriously a little fidgety because they're great in a wet, humid box, like in a terrarium or vivarium where you're misting it and they're like just super wet and warm. They'll thrive. They'll do great. They're usually okay at the top of the water if you just let it float and put like a stick or some rocks or whatever for it to kind of hold on to. So it has like something where it like anchors itself. But then what it does is it from that point kind of grabs a hold, and there's these roots that it sends out that then the rest of the plant will follow, and it kind of covers like a carpet, like it kind of climbs over surfaces, kind of like moss does, and pulls itself along. So the Riccia needs like a framework or a mesh. It needs like a scaffold or a literal mesh. Like a lot of people use a little piece of sponge. You can cut sponge like a green like sponge for the kitchen or whatever. You can get like a Brillo pad piece or the like the just a tougher sponge material, like synthetic sponge, and you can just cut that as thin as you can stand to cut it, that it still holds up, and you'll end up with like a Swiss cheese looking thing that will graft pretty well usually with that kind of stuff. Also, you know, mosses and things, people, you probably seen the squares or triangles of different shape mesh material. You can also get the blanks for sewing and for what do we needle point and stuff. That works pretty well too. So yeah. But Riccia fluitans is always a tricky one in that, like, some people are like, it's so easy, it just grows on like crazy, and other people are like, mine just dies every time I buy it. I try to get it going and it dies. So what do you want, baby girl? Sorry, I'm sure you guys can hear the cat needing all my attention all the time. All right. Pick and Choose says, I'm doing, it almost sounds like Pikachu, but pick and choose. I'm doing my first aquarium since childhood. Planted cold water flue well flex 15 with ram's horn, snails, scuds, and eventually plan to add white clouds. If that goes well, would adding least killifish work? Yeah, the least killifish babies might get eaten by some of the white cloud adults, but they're pretty wily, and they kind of have babies, like 1 to 4 babies at a time, and they kind of just like have them, and they're not super small. They're like maybe a little smaller than a guppy baby, maybe not even though. Yeah, it kind of depends. Sometimes they're a little smaller than that. Sometimes they're about the same size as like a baby guppy, a newborn guppy. But yeah, I think you'd be fine to do that. Your scuds and other critters will probably get hunted down to some degree, which if that's part of your calculations, then that's great. You know, you could also add something like isopods, or you'll probably, without even trying, you'll probably get scud, like not just scuds, but what are they called? Ostracods. Ostracods are another one, little seed shrimp, as they're also called, that are a great little food source. They almost appear in every aquarium, and it's because they give birth several ways, including just self-cloning, but they also can lay eggs that are clones of themselves, basically, in suspended animation. And so they just sit on your shoulder or on a tree or on a branch or wherever that little thing was chilling, or in a pond, and then it gets blown around by the wind, and or sticks with the dew in the morning dew to the side of a tree when it's been blown around in the air. And then yeah, just sticks to whatever surface, and then it waits for just the right conditions, and usually that's water returns, and all of a sudden this little cyst has about 2 or 3 days where it opens, and ta-da, it's right at home in the water again. They're really cool, and they just end up everywhere. The seed shrimp are one of the most ubiquitous. They're called ostrocods. Here, I'll show you what they look like. You really need genetics. And then isopods are another great one too, but scuds can really outcompete them sometimes. I prefer them though. If you want to have shrimp in your tank at all, I wouldn't do scuds. But if you don't care about that, and you don't have any egg laying fish that you're like the white clouds aren't your main focus in breeding, then it's okay. But when it comes down to the other kinds, I think some of the Gammaris, as they're called, or the genus Gammaris, the Acellus is the most common one you'll probably see, or Giganticus, or Aztecus. And those are all pretty aggressive about eating like even eggs from little fish, and like even fish fry larvae. So yeah. Would adding least killifish overwhelm the bioload flex 15? No, definitely not. They don't make much of a bioload. Now, it depends on how you feed them, though. That's a good question. And if you feed them a lot of food, then sure, you could stress out that system very easily. Like, I mean, which is, that's a great point for any aquarist to understand. But you add just a bit too much of flake food, and soon you got planaria, you've got hydra, you've got all these critters coming in. And I always say, some people are happy and they're like, yeah, I've got green water, and it's because the water has become foul or kind of putrid, right? Well, same with paramecium and some of those first smallest life forms that make food for our fish. So like here, you can see like ostracods that people are talking about, and they're just these little guys right here. Oh, it's not gonna let me, is it? Let's see, is it gonna? Oh yeah, here we go. So these little guys, I mean, they're not huge or anything. Hold on, let me copy this, put this onto here, paste. Boom. Boom. There we go. All right. So it's really hard to tell these little guys apart, these ostracods. But these are those little things I was talking about that just appear overnight, and they end up in almost every aquarium has some version of this little bean-shaped dude with these little flagella, or little swimming whiskers, or whatever you want to call them, little paddles. And some have like literally dozens, like in this picture here where you see the one that has like all these little hairs, and they can all swim in unison and go one way together pretty quickly. Others have like just a couple little wispy tendrils. So there are a bunch of kinds out there. The aquarium hobby does have definitely 3 or 4 main ones that I see when examining different samples from people around my area in my fish club in Seattle. But these little guys are definitely an all-time great food, and they're always healthy. They're always like, there's nothing bad about these. Maybe there's parasites that they carry. I'm sure everything has something, but I can't think of any like downside to having ostracods in your tank, other than some people think that the little white dots on the corner of the screen, or little white dots on like that you see kind of glitching around on your glass when you look really, really close. Yeah, that's what we're talking about, those little dots. Let's see here. My my red Reuben sword keeps on growing flowers. Oh, that's cool. I think that's cool. As soon as I cut one down, the babies, it grows one or more or two there. Well, let's take a look at that. So let's go to Google. Oops, that's not what I meant to do, but all right, well, we'll pretend it was. And I'll just do this because computer got a computer. All right. And let me get rid of this. Are we there yet? Yes, we're there. Wait, that's a pretty boring Google look. So if we go to red Reuben sword flower. Echinodorus Horman. There's a fun name. Cross with Echinodorus Barthini. I didn't actually know that that's what the Reuben sword was. Anyways, we'll see if it'll load. But I just wanted to show folks that this is a really pretty, really pretty plant. But I was trying to find pictures of the actual flower of it because I don't know that I've seen that firsthand. But anyways, yeah, it's a very pretty, it used to be called the Prince Kleiner sword, and now it's usually just called, or sorry, that's a different sword. There's the Prince Kleiner, there was the red Reuben, there's the flaming red, and then there became a flaming purple. And then there's also another very expensive Iguazu 2009 or 2008 varietal. But these are the swords that we're looking at here. And let's see if we can find that it didn't return any information about the flower when I wanted to do that. Let's try it. Let's just try this. Hold on. Echinodorus flower. Am I gonna have to say inflorescence? Okay, so yeah, it'll send up these guys that are gonna make a flower above water. A lot of them are just white, but some of these sword plants, like Amazon swords and stuff, can only be identified when we see the actual flower. Like that has some trait that makes that the only way we can tell. And when looking at some of these, like just look at how pretty the actual plant is like this. But so herein lies what's going on, I'm guessing, is that this plant is getting really good sun, or rather good light. It may even be getting some real sunlight, but I'm guessing that it's just getting good nutrients, good light, and that you're doing your water changes, you're keeping up with all of that. And you're actually, like, the fact that the plant is red and you're keeping it in good condition, red with the new leaves being the reddest, it's probably just so healthy that it's trying to go up and bloom. If you keep your light time down, that will help in that it should only bloom around 10 plus hours a day of light. So if you turn it to 8 hours of light a day, even if that light is more intense when you have it on, that definitely will help stop it, because generally it means that you have a redder light or a more fruiting light that replicates the fall season in the northern hemisphere. The end of the summer growing season is generally when things are going to flower by the end of that. They may flower in the spring, they may flower in the summer, they may flower in the early fall, but that's usually kind of the window of when it could flower. And in the Amazon and kind of global equatorial plant families, a lot of them the sun doesn't change a whole lot throughout the year. It's 12 hours of light, 12 hours of dark a lot of the year. Like, just it doesn't change with the seasons. So whereas something like apples, for instance, that are from Afghanistan originally, or somewhere in the middle of like the middle of the Asian steppe, those are exposed to the northern hemisphere's harsher winter and longer months of winter and things like that, and the change that occurs. So they definitely are exposed to that, and they definitely have like a set season time when they need to store their sugars and do things like that. Whereas your equatorial plants can kind of do it whenever they feel like it, and they will be pretty versatile if you've just been keeping them on like 12 hours of light a day or something. They may just keep putting up flowers. Anything around 12 hours of light is enough that they can usually survive and throw up flowers. My guess, I don't know what light you have on it, but that is what you can. I mean, I think it's fun to flower plants, but a lot of times they'll send up this kind of stem with these little nodes on it. It grows very quickly, like several inches a day sometimes. And you can cut it and it'll just grow another one, or it'll grow that one right back. Sideshow has a question, which is, Alex, what are the tiny jumping guys that live in my small tank? They hop like 4 inches. So I'm guessing you're talking about springtails, and springtails are a lovely little thing. So that springtails and aphids. I have a whole episode called "What Are Those Little White Bugs?" And there's one answer, which is the ostracods that we already talked about. That's underwater. Like, what are the little dots that move around on the glass like they're glitching out? But then there's also springtail. And springtails can look very different. There's some really cool exotic springtails even. And these little guys that look this, I mean, they look complex, right? They look downright complex here. These are so small that, I mean, you can barely make out that it even has like a head body. Like, there's a difference. This creature here, if you could tell that it even had antennas, I would be impressed. Most these guys, when you see them, one, they don't like to stay still. They jump quite a bit. But two, they're also kind of clearish, and they also shed skin or exoskeleton, rather, not skin, quite frequently. They can get very thick on water like this. See this? That can actually be like, they can be completely covering things. They're so thick in density and population. But they have a little tail underneath their butt, and they try usually to kick with these like tail or legs. Here is the classic layout, which is they have this thing called a furcula, and they use this little furcula leg, and they will then flip around, literally doing somersaults like up to 100 times their own height with the energy that's stored in that little leg that basically is kind of like it's kind of like it uses all the advantages of physics that could be placed in that tiny little body. It basically flings it using kind of like pole vault, like a pole vault, and it's got a locking mechanism that almost is spring loaded as well, the way it uses the tensile strength of the material that these guys are actually made out of, and the keratin and other organic carbon-based compounds and stuff. But anyways, they're really cool, and they can walk. They're so tiny that they can walk on the surface tension of water. And if they get scared, sometimes they'll jump, and you'll see the water it looks, when you look at it under the light from just the right angle, especially if you've got floating plants and things, it can look like the water's almost boiling or something, like with the amount of little white dots that are jumping around and kind of appearing and disappearing. But what it is it's those little guys. And yes, your fish love eating them. And yes, your fish do eat them. Like if you have guppies or danios or anything that hangs out at the top, they love eating those, and they eat them all day long. Like as they're bored, they eat them. Sometimes they can grow accustomed and they just wait for food and don't really hunt them down. But like even bettas, my bettas, oftentimes, especially the wild bettas I've had, I've noticed that those tanks have way fewer of those than the other tanks. Because the other thing you get is on tanks that have floating water lettuce, that have a red root floater or other just immersed plants, they'll get these. And then on those other plants, especially if it's like Bacopa or Kabamba or Ludwigia or any of those that are growing up and out, they'll get aphids oftentimes. And there's actually an aquatic aphid or I don't know, it's very common in aquaria to get this aphid all throughout North America, South America, Asia, Europe, Australia, the Pacific, just the whole world in general. It's gone around the world with the plant trade and with the hobby. But it's interesting because it's the semi-domesticated at this point, the little aphids, and they make like honeydew, which is like they take the sugars and the sweetness out of the plants that they suck the juice out of, the nutrients out of, and then they leave it on the stem of the plant as an excreted waste product called honeydew, morning dew, honeydew. People have different names for it, but then there are whole other animals that their entire ecology, like some of them only eat honeydew made by one kind of aphid, and there's a honeydew springtail subgroup that only eats what the aquatic aphid does. And so there's aphids that eat the plant material and cause damage, and they're just kind of destructive. But then there's others that are kind of just there taking the moisture and a little bit of the sugar and then just kind of going to the bathroom and existing on the plant. And a lot of that can all be found on your floating plants in your aquarium if you look closely, along with all the little flying white dots. Sadly, the tank I have is mainly duckweed and frogbit. You get ants crawling across them. Oh, I would see if I saw ants, I would be like, nope, party's over, get out. Jacob, is it Gail? Gale, what's up? Welcome. Come on in. The water is 82 and warm, balmy. Aquatic Life Awesome says they have a flower or pictures of Echinodorus flowers on their YouTube channel if you guys want to check it out. Alex, okay, got that. We got that. Which with my fluval light, the plants get deep red. Yeah, that probably means one, you've got good light, but you've also got good nutrients, semi-good CO2. I mean, plants will probably always like more CO2 than what their ambient level is, unless you are using pressurized CO2 already. Then you're really in the money. But you're already giving them what plants crave. Just reading your questions, folks. I have 3 female paradise fish living happily together in a 20-gallon. Also have 1 male in his own tank. Is it possible to introduce him into the female tank, or will it be? So that's a good question. I've kept paradise fish, kissing fish, a few different gouramis as well. And, honey, sorry guys, my back and leg are really sore. Honey gouramis are one of the sweetest ones out of all of the labyrinth fish and the what's the name of that group of tenopome. No, not tenopome. Anabantoid fish. Ones that come to the surface and breathe air / have a labyrinth organ. They're going to be one of the nicer ones. There's also the deep red. Sometimes it's called the thick lip or the kissing lip gourami, which is not to be confused with the kissing fish or the kissing gourami, which is another bigger Chinese Vietnamese fish that is a little more aggressive. But anyways, the thick lip gourami, which I believe its species name is labia or labius. Let me look that up. It's LABIA something. Let's see here. Honey, or no, red or thick-lipped gourami is what I was thinking of, right? Thick lip. It's from actually Lake Inlay, which is, I should have it memorized. Okay, so it used to be labiosa. All right. Now it is Trigaster labiosa instead of Colycia labiosa. And here, let's see if I can I pop this up on the stage? Yeah, I can. Boop. All right, so there we go. There's the thick-lipped gourami. These are very friendly. I know they're not what you have, but I wanted to give them a shout out because they're pretty nice when I've had them, and I've had them spawn with the paradise fish. Now, paradise fish are domesticated fish, so there are different varieties that are more or less aggressive. I've found that the albino ones seem to be a little bit less aggressive when I've kept them together with the other kind. And I don't know if it's just that they have a disposition because their eyesight is bad, perhaps because of the albinism. But yeah, so paradise fish. There's also, as you know, paradise fish that are still kind of wild. And then there's some, I hate these AI images like this of fish that are like, oh, we got most of the stuff right. And then it's got like a goldfish fin randomly on there. Anyways, so like this kind here, the wild kind that you technically see, the Macropodus opercularis, this is the kind that you tend to think of. There's also a blue or black kind that are like a whole wild species. And then there's a bunch of oh, whoops, are you guys not even seeing that? Then there's also is that gonna, no, all right, I guess I'll have to pull these up this way. This way. Okay. Are we seeing it? Yes. Okay. So yeah, there's lots of pretty ones out there, but these paradise fish, you know, they're bred differently all around the world. Some, you got these darker body mod morphs. You got some that are very blue. Some that are like all the way blue. This is probably, I bet this is fake. Maybe not, but it looks kind of fake to me. Anyways, there are some though that are very like more like this one, the fire and ice kind, that you see very blue, very and others that are pale yellow. Some that are like this, obviously the flame ones. And the more they are domesticated in general, kind of the more peaceful they tend to be. They're not being bred for fighting or anything like all the other guppies or guppies, all the other bettas and things are, from what I can see. So I would say, though, you can try putting the male in with the females. That's fine. He may just pair up with one, though, and only then beat up on the other ones. So you're kind of going to have to watch it and just see what happens, because he probably will pick one in particular at some point, but he'll probably bug them all for a little while. Just kind of trying out his spread of the town kind of thing. But just don't put up with any damaging violence. That's kind of my general rule when you're going to put mixed gender fish together that you keep separate until at some point. Like, just keep an eye on them. And if they get aggressive, or if they pick like a certain corner that's theirs and they charge any other fish of the same species that comes near them, then those are signs that, like, okay, I should probably think about moving them, or it's going to have to pick one to be its someone. And then those two will probably need to be the only ones in the tank if they both together kind of keep everything else away. You've got the wild looking ones. Okay, cool. I mean, awesome fish still. Definitely. Mick, what's up? Good to see you, brother. Boots and cats. Always good to see you. I saw you earlier too, and I didn't say it. Didn't say the boots and cats. But yeah, I mean, as a general rule, I think people get too scared of like mixing fish and like what's going to happen. Like, generally fish, especially if it's not like an Oscar or a wolf fish or something, they don't have the teeth to just lay into the other fish and just destroy them instantly. It's kind of a prolonged bullying and stress and neglect / not getting the food, stuff like that is going to wear down fish and stress out fish when you try putting them together. But really, you can try putting a lot of fish together, and if you're watching and you look for signs, the big signs from my perspective are establishing a territory. Now, if you know that the fish does this, and that's just in their nature, like some cichlids or like pumpkin seed fish or something, or like rams. If you have rams or apistos and you've got like a 200-gallon tank, you may have 6 or 7 little spots that are claimed by different male rams, and that's totally fine to have them in a big tank like that. Then there's others that are going to claim the entire tank no matter the size. You know, they're going to, like some of the earth eaters, for instance, the earth eating cichlids, some of them are not going to care. Some of the loaches that are big, they don't care. They're going to see that you're in their area and you're not a mate and you're not a baby or a friend, and they are going to fix the issue. Well, that becomes pretty obvious because they do the chases and they don't let up. So that's the other thing I look for. So first, it's being the territorial. Then it's so either holding a territory or going into another fish's spot and trying to then retreat back to a spot. That's another way you can tell if maybe they're establishing a territory. So if another fish has gone from the left side of the tank and bugged one fish over there and was like kind of nipping at its fin or something, and then it swam away, but each time it bugged it swam away, just away. It doesn't matter which direction or whatever. That's also kind of the whole territorial thing. It's like testing bounds. It's checking, like, has this other fish yet said, yeah, this is my corner? Like, will it stand up for itself? And so most creatures in nature, they don't want to destroy one another. That's not good for the population of the species. So they're not out to like full on annihilate each other or whatever. They're there to show off that they're the best candidate to the female, or that they're the healthiest or the prettiest, whatever it may be. But yeah, it's the sustained chases or sustained back and forth fighting, the tussling if they're rolling together like an alligator roll, or if they're spinning around fighting each other, and there then is damage to the fins, or you see bruising or tearing or anything like that, that's when I, usually say, okay, that's that. Or if I come back to the tank and I see someone's got a ripped fin or whatnot. Now, those things will heal usually, but if you're a perceptive fish keeper, like, you can keep an eye on a pretty good number of tanks with those things in mind. Yeah. So, having a heavily planted tank, Mick is an Apisto expert, I will say. But he's at 120 centimeter long, always gives me fry from Apistos without having to move eggs or fry. Nature doing the job. Same with the Pseudomagil luminatus, also with bettas or epiplatus. Yep. Several generations in a row. Yeah. Fish Dreams, what's up? Good to see you. With wild bettas, should you doctor your water, or will they adapt? I don't know. If they're caught from the wild, no, they probably won't adapt very well unless your water's 7.0 and pretty low TDS. Now, if your water's 8.2 and a pH and 800 TDS with a KH of 17 and a GH of 22, then no, I wouldn't hope that betta would ever get acclimated. Even though that betta can breathe air, it can come to the top, and it can try to do that for a while rather than needing to be in like the perfect water. But that being said, a betta still would rather just churn water slowly through their gills, be chill at the bottom, than having to use their labyrinth organ. It's just to get through periods when the water is very depleted of oxygen, very shallow, very muddy, and usually warm. Flood forest, an inch or two deep, and the fish are kind of stranded in a low spot. They need to have the ability to survive in that water for a day or two until it rains again and there's enough water to get to the next little puddle and then back to the creek or whatever. All right, guys. Well, I just wanted to pop on here and stream for your friends for a little bit. There was an interesting study that I wanted to mention about the diversity of places in the wild. And it came out a new study in, I think it was the Journal of Ecology. But they were talking about showing, I think they had contestants. They had test subjects from a bunch of different walks of life. So some were from, farmers, some were engineers, some were fishermen or scientists or, computer programmers, a whole wide array of stuff. Some were living off the land and goat herders from, Inner Mongolia or whatever. But anyways, they took these people, and they took like 100 and some people, and they played for them. They gave them a VR mask or whatever, and they played for them this immersive video where they could turn their head and they could see and hear all around them the sights and the sounds of wherever that was created. And then they also did it completely blindfolded, and they had them close their eyes and turn around and look at their surroundings with just the auditory part, but the auditory part was stereo. So they were able to hear directionally somewhat. And this was all taken from real-time data. And I don't remember how long the limit was off the top of my head. But anyways, they wanted to ask people, like, if you are Mr. Engineer from Tokyo, we're going to put you in an African forest and we're going to ask you, like, 1 through 10, how high do you think the biological diversity is? And, they'd answer. Then they show, say, the opposite of the Japanese computer programmer or engineer type. Maybe they have a farmer from Sudan, and they say, all right, here's a clip of that again. Where is it in diversity? And they'll give it a rating of what they think. Well, with everybody who did it, it didn't matter where they were from, like if they were modern, like on the grid doing a normal day job where they'd never come into contact with hunting and gathering, or if they were literally part of a tribe that was still hunting and gathering. Humans across the board instinctually seem to know the order in which the diversity of a specific location is increased. So we know actually, like, there are more plants and animal species in this area just by like gut feeling. They knew that people could tell this in person when they got to places, but just the sounds and the sights and the sounds and sights essentially, and the frequency of those things and the diversity of those things told people that. Now, the interesting quirk to the study was they didn't select for getting rid of people in the study like those who were from a farming life that may have only experienced a limited diversity of environments just inherent to who they are. So the people who are cattle herders from south of Sudan, they were the only ones who didn't do well. Like, they thought that Times Square in New York would have high diversity because of all the noise and the honking and the cars and the music and the lights, probably. I'm just guessing. But it turns out that, even people who weren't from New York City or whatever, but as long as they had a modern-ish job, they were able to use that information and kind of overrule what the general rule was, which is the more noise, the more diversity of noises, the more color, the more diversity of plant leaves and things, the more diversity there is there. But what they said is that it's actually like it releases hormones that calm and soothe humans to be in the more diverse places. And so it was an argument. They didn't just do one, like a rainforest, a Peruvian mountain, a Peruvian subalpine, and then like a Peruvian alpine range. It wasn't like just one spot in the world. They went to a whole host of places and different elevations, different, some of it had been farmed in the past, some of it had been farmed loosely, whatever. So, but all of it had already been ranked according to its diversity by other studies in the past. So they knew how many species of fish, of insects, and of birds and plants and all this stuff that had all been surveyed already. But I found that interesting, thinking that, like, those Kalahari Bushmen, yet again, they couldn't, they thought, wow, that must be a good place to hunt or to find, resources, Times Square, because the people there, like, there's all the noises, there's the honking, there's the lights, there's the constantly changing whereas that is the trademark symbol or vibe that you get from real natural places. So that was kind of interesting to me, that like the people who'd really lived their lives out in nature didn't know what to make of the fake noise or the fake diversity, because it's not, if you think about it, it's probably amongst the least diverse places for a spectrum of different plants, different animals. It's all just humans and metal and, cars and whatever. Hey, Kenny, good to see you. Or Danikin, either one, whoever it is on here, whoever has embodied you. Also, what's up, Johnny? Good to see you, my friend. Always good to see all y'all in here. How's everybody doing? Kenny, are you doing any streaming or anything tomorrow or tonight? You got any plans on that? Or is the Danikin household taking a break this weekend? What's the status, my dear long-term viewer and channel loyalist? Alex, speaking about plants, do you know if there are any book where we can find out what fish lives on which plants and algae? That's an interesting question. Hey, Mike, how's it going? So no, Mick, this is a tricky one, but what you can do is you can go look up like biotope. So, you can do biotope, Jupari Earth Eater. I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to learn together. So I'm going to look this up. And then let me pull this on the screen so you guys can see it. Yeah, there we go. Okay. I'm all the way down here. Anyway, so if we look up biotope Jurapari Earth Eater. So this was just a random species that I was thinking about, and I was like, okay, well, I know this one digs up plants and interacts with plants quite a bit. So like what can we find out about it? Well, the first thing you can do that's obviously fun or entertaining is you can look for actual biotope photos, and they have to be trusted. There's so much stuff that's going around that's just crap. It's not Scottish, it's crap. And it's just difficult, to know what's what, to know what's true. But yeah, a lot of the imagery that's out there and stuff is from aquariums, or it's AI or whatnot. But if you find a good host of content, then you'll be able to find other images that are probably more accurate. And there's sources like I'm trying to think, like who would it be, like Discovery Channel or BBC, stuff like that, where it's not, not that I'm saying like trust everything they put out or whatever, but I would say that you can usually assume that if they say on National Geographic website, there's an article and it says, here's a picture of cichlids in their natural habitat. This is the wolf cichlid or blah, blah, blah. Well, then you can look at a picture and you can kind of try to figure that out. Well, the other place you can do that is you can go and get books like Ivan Mikolji's, like his Orinoco River book. And he goes into all sorts of anecdotes about, like, so I was swimming along and I found a Bolivian ram, and it turns out that they make homes under the, or whatever, like that they make homes under the knotted weeds of lotus bulb, like where the lotus bulbs have the like stems that come up and stuff. So however a lotus or a lily would come up, they get like a lot of leads coming up in one spot and they get kind of all tangled and stuff. Well, they kind of use this as sometimes they'll kind of clear out a spot and they'll make a little cave. And it's a specific like shallow area with silty algae and a few other plants in it that is home to a lot of these Bolivian rams, like in the Pantanal, for instance. And it will then give you the information in his book. It tells you like what else is in the area, like nymphaeas. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like that would be the genus anyways. But if you're trying to figure out if there's a specific species link to a specific plant, I have not yet encountered anything that says that, other than, for instance, like reading that like the splash tetra usually picks echinodorus leaves or similar leaves that are hanging and semi-aquatic or semi-terrestrial. Cat, what are you doing? Cat is pulling down. Come here. Pulling down stuff. So, yeah, not a great source out there, but the biotope stuff will be helpful. So, I mean, because a lot of people do try to recreate, like, I want the same exact sand and the same exact dirt and the same exact, aquatic plants. And even like, some people are like, I even want like the right isopods or whatever. It could get pretty extreme if you want to be hardcore about it. But yeah, people do, and like museums and things and exhibits, they do try to model, cypress trees and things. Now there's some things that just become obvious, like a cypress darter. Well, that's the common name for one of the swamp darters in America, and they love to live on the knees of cypress trees in the flooded forest, or shallow like flooded swamps. Yeah. Ought to be a scientific table somewhere regarding this topic. Just a few million papers to go through before collecting all that data. Yeah, right? Yeah, it's a lot of data. But if you go to, and Gachel, hello, hugs. If you go through all of that, oh, interesting here. The Biology of Aquatic. Yeah, that is a great book, by the way, Mike. The Biology of Aquatic and Wetland Plants by Gary Irving. That is close to a Bible or a textbook that we have in aquatic, semi-terrestrial, riparian zone plants and their functionality and stuff. Good book, focuses on soil processes and properties. I actually am signed up for a class by a grad student. Maybe he might have his PhD now. This was something he was doing for his PhD, but it's on wetland soil ecology, and it was like a sign up only online thing, but it was free. So I signed up for it. So I think it starts next weekend. And kitty cat, what are you doing? And it should be interesting. I'll share whatever I learn with you guys for sure. But yeah, he's got also a lot of stuff that he shared with me out of like papers and books and things. So he's been helpful along the way. But more than that, Tom Barr seemed to repost and say some praise or shine some praise that way, which is a big thing to do when, I know that's a space that like he kind of inhabits, and not that many people inhabit the truly aquatic and fully submerged plant world in an ecological sense, in its contextual sense. Like a lot of people may be into the family of plants that are Drosera, for instance, or whatever, and they may be into all the taxonomy of a certain line of pitcher plants or whatever. But as you get broader and you talk about like, okay, what about plants that are sometimes underwater, sometimes not underwater? How are those plants metamorphically when they're underwater? And some can live their entire lives underwater, versus how are they when they're above water? And so like plants like Kabamba or Bacopa are really interesting in that like a lot of the information we know about these plants and things is just because we see the plant like above water and we've named it. We've okay, so that's creeping Jenny, or that's this or that. That's creeping Charlie. There's a lot of creeping plants in the aquatic world, but that's such and such, and or foxglove or whatever. And then you look down and you're like, wow, from underwater there's still two more feet of it, and it looks completely different. Like the leaves look like something else. And so then they look at that, they look for more of it underwater and look for places where it's never shallow enough to get out from underwater. And that's how they kind of decide too if it is a true aquatic plant or if it is just a plant that likes flooded areas, flooded substrates and things like that. Yeah, here we go. Here is the book. Well, thank you. That is very helpful. You have a Discord. I don't see it in the description. I do have a Discord. It may not be in the description right this second. If you go back to a recent video, it'll be there, but hold on. I think I can pull it up. Let me try to pull up a link right now. Discord. All the links always expire with Discord anyways, so. Annoying. What are you gonna do? Discord me. Discord me. Discord me. Okay, here we go. Fishery. So I also have like a pay for Discord and a just come hang out. Don't worry about paying. There are more files and stuff. Actually, I need to include some more files that I recently posted in my shrimp video, my new Neocaridina video. Needs that, and I will be posting about Neocaridina eyes soon too, and the inheritance. I have it from the guy who literally separated the orange eye gene from the wild, and I have his information of like, here you go. This is how invite. Here we go. Hold on. Copy. Try this link. Meow. 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 But yeah. Yeah, so you can go there. The documents page should be available. The only thing is like the general chat is a little bit like, oh, if you want to talk about like off-color jokes and stuff like that. Sorry guys, gosh, cat hair everywhere. That's one thing where like we've kind of gotten in theory, it was like some people were kind of being active and putting up memes and stuff like that. And there's also like a not safe for work kind of like, you know, whatever. If people want to talk about that, that's fine. And that's kind of in the paid group that people were doing that. But it's kind of slowed down a little bit. The Discord is going to be as active as people make it, to be quite frank. I have kind of waxed and waned with my personal energy and interest in being able to like keep up with it. But I do love the idea of Discords, and I really like an active Discord. So, you know, it's something that I'm keeping up, and it's just another way that some people want to interact. But it's very hard for me mentally to have another like Discord, Facebook, YouTube, email, Instagram, Facebook Messenger, you know, all these places. WhatsApp, where I talk to a lot of professors that are overseas and stuff. It's just like there's so many ways to get a hold of people and so many different platforms, and nothing's like incredibly hard or anything, but it's just, oh, another one. Like now I got to check another place. And so we were a little slow on the rollout of the Discord, but now there is one, and you know, I check in every once in a while. So you know, every day or two, I try to pop in. I haven't been really good at updating it, but hopefully as life gets more stable again, as everything is back the way it should be, I hope, like when I can walk, when both legs aren't busted, and or still facing, you know, in and out of danger from secondary infection, and also the autoimmune things I'm facing with the lupus, which they may also now, you know, they just did new testing and they have seen like a Sorgen's disease and psoriatic arthritis and rheumatoid arthritis. So some of the markers that came back on this last round of tests are different than they've been in the past. So I don't know what they're going to say, but they are going to, like, I've been going to a bunch of doctor's appointments like crazy lately, and they may have some new diagnosis for all I know. So yes, Sjogren's, Sketty, that's something that the markers I had for, but I haven't ever been diagnosed with that, but I haven't gone back to the rheumatologist or anything yet. Like I just got these tests this week, and I haven't even gone over them with the doctor yet, but my markers were like in the abnormal / in the like could have it range or whatever. So anyways, I'm not going into all that again, but I just want, hey, you guys gonna come on the show? We got Mama, we got the baby kitty. Oh, look how happy she is with Mama. Meow. Oh yeah, listen to that purr. Brrr, brrr. Boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats. Purr. Purr. Well, guys, I got to get back to my family because they're just so stinking adorable. But I'll be here. If you guys have questions, let me know. I'm working on the video, of course, for the orange eye trait in Neocaridina shrimp, and how you can now know that as well. The guy who has done all that work and put them into different lines, he's made it completely open source, which is the complete opposite of what the shrimp world usually does. Usually the shrimp world is totally like, I don't know, maybe I used this species, maybe I used this one, maybe it was a morph, I don't know. And they really try to throw you off and keep it like a trade secret and go for all this money. This guy's like, nope, here's the genetics. This is recessive. This is not. If you want bright orange, you need the double recessive. If you want like an off yellow in these species, you do this, you know. And so I think that's really cool. And that's the way we should move forward as a hobby and help each other out and be like that. Justin, what's up? Jeff, you going live? You going live? Always good to see all of y'all today. Thank you for coming by. You got some sunburst? Justin, I want those so badly. I've been wanting them for a long time. Yeah. Andy, good to see you, and thanks for hanging out too. Yeah, for sure. And Jeff Pelham has an auction at 7. All right, well, go over there, guys. Maybe I'll try to come find some of y'all later too. Nano Aquarium guy, thanks for sticking around for the stream. Azurabian too, good to see you as well. Claire, also good to see you. Good to see all y'all. Take care, everyone. Thanks for questions and hanging out. Probably the next stream I'll have a little more like, I want to present a couple of studies that I thought were interesting, or new fish species or something. But yeah, I'm going to get out of here, and I hope everybody, Sketty, this is the one that they are suspecting on top of lupus, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't know, but I'm with you. Fingers crossed. All right, guys. Oh, Nancy B from Tennessee's hiding, popping out the last second, being rawr. See you later. All right, you guys have a good one. Everyone be safe. Everyone keep lurking. Keep Great Laking. Beto. Boots and Cats, take care. Thanks for joining us. I know it's getting late. It's getting late, Nancy and Sketty and Girl 88. Okay. Good night, everybody. I'll see you guys later. Take care and talk to you soon. Thanks for making me sticky. No, thank you for sticking by me, guys. With even though I'm only making like 1 or 2 videos a week right now and 1 or 2 live streams a week, I promise I will pick it up. I will be back to my normal pace when I can. I am just crawling through this life at the moment, and I'll be back soon, though. I promise. Much love, you guys. I'll talk to you later, and have a wonderful evening. And get that book if you want. Turning the Aquatic Wetland Plant Biology book, right there. Links in the description if you're interested. I don't make any money off it or anything. I'm just saying that because I'm not like slanging it or anything, but I do think it's a great book. Justin, as a new member, coming in right at the closing hour of the show. Welcome to memberhood. May all your dreams can come true. You can now go to all of our community posts, and all of our playlists are now exposed to you, laid bare, and you can hang out and listen to just the audio in podcast form, as well as at least 250 or so stories, episodes that are not released to the rest of the crowd. So if you want to drive and you want to listen to podcast format or audio format, that is now unlocked to you. So welcome, and just thank you for your support. It really does. I do appreciate it, Justin. You say you've been watching my stuff for a long time, and you deserve it. Thanks for the knowledge. Oh, well, thank you so much. I do appreciate that. I should have made a deal with the Amazon thing, but I didn't. It's fine. I don't care. I don't want to. It's fine. I just want that guy to get his money. That's all I care about. But thank you, Mick, for caring for me. So I don't know. Yeah, Europe has different deals with all that, so I don't even bother setting it up with Europe, because I just don't. I don't want to deal with it all. I'm not that hungry for the 15 cents or 20 cents or whatever it would be, Google can keep it or Amazon can keep it, I guess. All right, you guys have a wonderful, whatever it is, wherever you are, if it's morning, evening, or night. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Boop. And.